Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Ankerstar Wealth, a morning show. We have three exciting topics to start for you on this short week, coming off the 3-day weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed your long 3-day weekend. We're going to talk about what's going on in the market today. A resounding thud is what's going on pretty much. But Mike's going to talk about the specifics on that. But September is kind of the worst month of the year, even though people out there are quite bullish right now. We shall see how it all plays out. Also, Mike has an article about demographics, specifically talking about Gen Z. But he's also going to kind of talk about, hey, Gen X is getting older. I got older last week. I'm not getting close to 60, but I guess it is somewhere on the horizon. I should pay attention. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the building update. The Ankerstar Wealth building is on schedule for opening up sometime in October. And I'll show you kind of the updated pictures on that, as well as kind of the updated plan for the rest of the year. So with that, this is a financial education presentation. You have to do your own due diligence for acting upon anything you hear in this presentation. More disclaimer information is available at ankerstarwealth.com. The opinions expressed are Mike and mine alone. And let's start with Mike's. Over to you.
All right. Well, here's the danger of putting things in print before the market opens. So in my Wall Street Journal, right here is the actual paper edition, and it talks right on it. Americans are really, really, really bullish on stocks. And of course, and I'm going to hit the market selling off a little bit this morning to show you that's why things in print don't usually come out that well as far as timing. But here's the key parts of this, and I think they are very important. The S&P 500 up 18% this year, and Americans believe there's more room to run. And if you saw the weekend update, I showed last year's S&P 500 graph, and you could see that there was certainly a dip in the August or October timeframe. And if you just went to cash, you missed on a massive rally after that. Same kind of situation this year. It's not down, but it's certainly up 18%. You'd be like, oh, wow, maybe I should just go to cash. You might miss out on, the rest of the year, and it's hard to get back in. So the article of this is the surging stock market has minted millionaires. We love that. We want to help people become millionaires. They're talking about 401ks, IRAs, and this graph right here is what I really liked and wanted to show. And this is the household allocation to stocks as a share of their financial assets. And you can see here, let me scroll down a little further so you can see the actual the years. But you can see in the 80s and 90s, that was the low point where stocks were less than 20%. But you can see certainly since 2008, when we had that drop, it has become a bigger and bigger percentage holding for all people. So, and chances are, if you're watching this, it is for you as well. The article, Americans are really bullish. And we don't want to play a market timing game, but so let me go to what happens when you put an article out like that today. You get read across the board. The market down. Yeah, it's like whoever. Let's see, whoever wrote this, Gungeon, probably is like, I wish we had released this maybe a couple of days from now. But the markets are, the Dow's down 400 points, S&P down 1.2%, NASDAQ 1.6%. Nothing shocking. There's not any major geopolitical news. I mean, there's a little bit of stuff on Russia. This is not due to bad earnings. This may just be market rotation. If you remember last Friday, it seems like a long time ago, the market surged up at the end of the day. Well, maybe this is just the counteraction, surging back down. Anyways, that is that. I don't see any earnings to report out to cover. The next big piece of news will be Friday in the jobs report. So the other article that I really like this morning is young people are taking over the workplace, and that's a problem for bosses. Hence, we sent Jaden back to college so he can't take over our workplace. And it's no problem for Steve. But anyways, it talks about older people catering to younger workers' needs. So Gen Z, now listen to this, because many people listening to this are baby boomers, Gen X. Gen Z workers are expected to outnumber baby boomers in the workforce this year. Take a breath. Wow. Gen Z is growing. Baby boomers are retiring. They are going to outnumber the baby boomers. So companies finding their youngest employees the most difficult to work with. For those of us that parents are our parents with this age group in our house, I agree. I think there may be some more difficulty in there. Keep in mind, this generation Gen Z coming up is probably the first where they've always had cell phones. They're always online. That can be good and bad. That can be good. There's good things to that, and there's also some difficulties. But there's new benefits like on-site therapists, things like that. And then what I told Steve before this is for those of us in Gen X, the first Gen Xers will be hitting age 60 next year. So possible retirements are on the horizon. We're not the oldest of the Gen Xers, so we have a little bit. But, demographics are something that we can't change. This is just the lay of the land. Where we invest, what we invest in, those are things we can change. Obviously, we want to take advantage of demographics. I wouldn't be going out and buying the newspaper company, but we like Apple and we like Meta, which may be a little bit aged. So how do we take advantage of those demographics? Obviously, we want to help all people invest to their goals, but that's one of the things as we figure out what we want to invest in, what we want to be owners of, is to look at the actual demographic changes that are occurring. So anyways, Steve, I don't know what you think about this, because I think you're the parent of some of this Gen Z. And just so everyone knows, Gen Z, it's in here somewhere. It's people that were born between 1997 and 2012. So just so you kind of get an idea what Gen Z is. What do you think about this? Is it a difficult generation to work with?
I think it's well, I am a fan of hiring folks early in their career necessarily before they have a whole lot of experience, because that's when energy is the highest, most trainable, that sort of thing. So I think there's benefits there. I would say they are different, yeah, for sure. They've grown up with the cell phone in hand, so unlike in the military, there were some times where you would leave the cell phone at the door and go in and get your work done. That's not going to fly. But any part of leadership is trying to figure out what your folks want and then offering as much of that as you can to set them up for success. But I don't know. I think a lot of folks our age are probably particularly annoyed by Gen Z, and I would say that's an us problem, not a their problem. Right. So we need to figure out kind of, as we age and try to hang on to our dinosaur tendencies, the fact that you still get the Wall Street Journal print, there's your dinosaur markings. And I will transition into my dinosaur markings, because who in the world would be dumb enough to, as the whole world goes away from the in-office scenario, who would be dumb enough to build an office in an office park? Well, that's me. And I have a vision, and only time will tell if that vision plays out. But yeah, as the world's trying to go remote and not go to the office, here I am buying one and building one and taking what was largely for 10 years an online type of business that I had, and then I would meet with people either Zoom, I was doing Zoom before Zoom was cool, sort of thing, or meeting at coffee shops and saying, well, now we're going to have an actual building. So there's my dinosaur tendencies. As far as which one it is, this is a depiction of what it's supposed to look like. Now, this picture is literally from 18 months ago, and it's this first building. It's the one that's right under the words, Mayfield office, if you will. So facing that corner where you enter, I was the first one to buy in here, and part of the contingency was I wanted 4, because some of these are 3. I wanted 4 offices, and I wanted to own everything under the whole roof, and I had to have the one that was the anchor property at the entrance. So I've got that. So what does it actually look like? surprisingly in the upper right there, surprisingly just like that. So, I mean, I guess that shouldn't be a surprise, but it's always nice, nice when it turns out like you expect it to be. So we've got obviously 4 offices within that. You've heard that there's some special things going on in the middle 2 units where I kind of gutted that out and put in a room for a classroom and an executive lounge is what is officially called. But we are on track. These are pictures as of I think last week. So drywall is this week, and then everything's going in. So on track for maybe a middle of October close, which that sounded like a long time. That's 6 weeks away. So yeah, it's happening pretty fast. We're in talks with the banks on how we're gonna, structure all of that, and rates are coming down a little bit at least. So that's kind of nice. So what can you expect? Well, if you're out of town, you can expect to hear about it, but probably not really ever see it unless you want to make a trip here to see it specifically. But certainly, if you're in the Central Texas area, you will have the ability now, especially if you're my client or Corey's client, to now come meet us in person at the building. We're going to structure some different. You're going to see something going out, at least to my clients, in the next by the end of the week or so, for a meeting you schedule to kind of make sure everybody flows into the available dates for you to come out and have a personal meeting here at the new facility. Plus, we're going to start teaching some classes. It's going to start with right after the elections. We plan to get the keys around the 15th of October. We'll probably need a couple weeks to get all the furniture in, get the projectors in, get everything kind of stood up and ready. And then starting early November, right after the election, we'll do, how does the election affect your portfolio? And then we'll teach those classes in there. So that'll largely be education for folks that can come in personally. And of course, we will stream those as well if you want to join us virtually there. So along with that, there's going to be some happy hours here local. Some of the folks that we work with on a regular basis, names you've heard, First Trust, JP Morgan, Cantor Fitzgerald, Bitwise, Grayscale, those folks, Keith Buchanan Realty, maybe even THP Development. I'm going to offer them the opportunity to sponsor the first happy hour. But we should have happy hours going on throughout November and on into December before we kind of knock it off for the year on or about December 15th or so. So that's what I want to share with you. Super exciting times. And Mike, what do you think? Is it a dinosaur to get a building like this? Am I acting like a Gen Xer?
I think you're a trendsetter. You were on Zoom before Zoom was cool. Now it's not cool. People are moving back. People want face-to-face. I mean, I think generally we're getting a little tired of all virtual world, but face-to-face is where people make relationships, and so look forward to coming down to Texas.
There you go. I think so too. We do have big plans for New Year's. We are co-sponsoring a New Year's party, then also New Year's Day. We're going to have an open house at the building. It's 4 months out. We got way too much time between now and then, but we'll get that info out to you. But I agree, Mike. I am trying to kind of foster a sense of community around Ankerstar Wealth and give us the opportunity to do a lot of stuff face to face. So thanks for bringing that up. And with that, you guys enjoy your Tuesday. We will see you back tomorrow. You have a good one. Bye.